Mm. Hello, greetings, dear ones. It's Stacy, and I am speaking on behalf of equality for women and sacred humanism. And the way that I'm going to do that is through myth. As if you know me, you know that I'm becoming more psychic. I'm actually channeling in goddesses, or you could call them frequencies or whatever you want to call them. Okay. The deal is this is a power. This is a feminine power that we all have, and it's the ability to connect with. We'll call it the grid. We'll call it the grid. Okay, we all have the ability. We are one with the universe. Okay, so now is a great time to get into that and keep your vibes high. And the myth that came to me is the myth of Persephone and Hades. And this myth is one of the greatest love stories ever. And I think it's very poignant now. And I'm just putting this into mythology form so I can make it a little easier for us to look at our own shadow. Okay, so we're all going through this mass initiation, and we're going to the shadow realms. We're going into the underworld. That is the world of Hades. Okay, it's very, very powerful that we're all doing this at the same time. I mean, it's freaking amazing, right? Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about Persephone, Hades, and I'm going to keep it. It's not authentically Greek, okay? Because there's like 26 different versions of this. It's actually going to be one of the versions along with my interpretation, my artistic interpretation, okay? And the goddess's input, okay? When I'll say it's Persephone, okay? And by no means is this, well, actually, yes, it is happening. It's an opportunity to look at what's happening here on planet Earth, okay? That's all I'm going to say, okay? All right, so let me get into this now. I am here to tell you about the beautiful goddess of spring, Persephone, and her husband. That is Hades, the god of the underworld. Now, their love story is a bit unconventional, but I am going to share it with you now. Now, Persephone is a maiden, okay? She's maybe 17, 18 years old. We'll say she's 18 years old. It's probably good. 18. She's of legal age for pretty much almost everything. Okay, right. So that's good. And in Greek myths, this doesn't always happen. Okay, so we're gonna go with, artistic license here. She is the goddess of spring, so she's out surveying the beautiful flowers. She's holding them in her hands and sniffing their nectar. It's a beautiful moment. And her mother, Demeter, is always looking closely after her because she knows that Hades really, really is into Persephone and wants to take her as his wife. In fact, Zeus, her father, has given Hades permission to take her as his wife. Now, unbeknownst to Persephone, who is a gorgeous, amazing, and innocent, naive young princess, is going about her beautiful day doing what she does, creating beauty and love everywhere. And she's surrounded by her mortal friends who often have very, very challenging situations happen to them, such as their fathers selling them to men 2 or 3 times their age in marriage. And that's where this myth came from, is the sadness of the mothers losing their daughters to this toxic patriarchal program, okay? Now, back to Persephone. So her friends really were, hanging with her. They were all together. Persephone saw a beautiful grove of calla lilies, and she went over to take a look at them, and she was holding it in her hands. Just then the earth broke open, and out came Hades. He was being pulled in his chariot by his 4 black horses galloping towards Persephone. He took Persephone and he grabbed her rather abruptly, but not roughly, and placed her next to him in his chariot. He said to her, "You can do better. There's more to you. There's more to you." And the earth opened back up, and Persephone and Hades went back down to the underworld. Now, what happens next is of great debate. We don't know for sure. But one thing I do know for sure is that Persephone was no mortal woman, and she wasn't just going to take this abductions laying down, if you know what I mean. She said to Hades, "This is not acceptable. I'm setting my boundaries. Now, I need to make a break from my mom and my dad, Zeus. They're just bigger than life. I'd like to have my own life, and perhaps I can just be here for a while, and I'll give you a chance. I'll give you an opportunity to woo me, to court me. I will teach you how to treat a princess and a young goddess properly." Now, Hades wasn't just looking for a hookup. He was in love with Persephone. So, of course, he gave her everything she wanted. She had her own temple with gardens that she surveyed every day and created more and more on the grounds. And she was patient with Hades and taught him how to treat her with love, regard, and respect. And Hades fell in more and more deeply in love with her. And Persephone came to trust Hades. He actually earned her trust. She was happy to get to know herself away from her mother, her father, and the limited perceptions that, yes, even young princesses that would be goddesses would have. So the story goes that Hades and Persephone, they become more and more close. And Persephone wants to teach Hades, who has only been educated by Pornhub, on how to touch her. So she gifts him a Kama Sutra written by Sarasvati. But my friends, that's another story. We'll get to another day. Anyway, he learns the ways of treating a woman properly, and actually they get married, and she's elevated at that point to being a queen, and he is her king, and things are going on quite well, except for up on the surface, Demeter is very, very upset. She wants to know where her daughter is. She has made the earth dry, climate change, or the earth is cracking. She's spread disease around the planet, and she's just not doing her job, and in fact has moved to a village and is pretending to be a common villager. She's absolutely distraught. Okay. Nothing can console her. She's been wandering the earth for months and months looking for Persephone. But everyone is afraid. Everyone is afraid of the wrath of Zeus if they share what actually happened to her. Luckily, there was one young nymph that had the courage to tell Demeter that Zeus had interfered with his daughter's betrothal. So, of course, Demeter is very upset and has a word with her brother and also the father of her child. Weird. Okay, it's Greek mythology. I'm going with that, but that's weird. Okay. And actually wins. She says, "I shall have 6 months a year, at least, with my daughter." Of course, Zeus negotiates this with Hades because the earth is really, in a bad situation. And we really need Gaia, Mother Earth, aka Demeter, to work with us on this one. Okay. I mean, really, who would subjugate those who give life? That seems like it's not a good idea. Just saying. Okay, so back to Demeter. Okay, so she actually has a chat with Hades, and Hades, of course, is not excited about sharing Persephone, but he wants to let her be who she's meant to be, because Persephone and Hades have both done a lot of work around learning how to be the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine. Persephone learned a lot about herself, going into the underworld, going into the shadows, looking at her insecurities. And she became ready to live her destiny as the goddess of springtime. So reluctantly, Hades agreed, and upon Persephone's leaving, he gave her 6 pomegranate seeds. Now it is said that if you take any food from the god of the underworld, you'll have to stay there. You'll have to go back there. Now, we don't know if this had anything to do with it, but Persephone rose to her true nature. She went back on the earth and actually is creating spring right now as we speak. However, her friends in the upper world have gained some status as females, as women, but there's still a lot of abuse and disempowerment for women. So they have not come into their true power, and many of them are traumatized and have a great fear of these times. They're in need of sacred masculine like Hades to support them. Well, we might ask ourselves, what's going to happen? Will the sacred masculine on planet Earth rise up to support Persephone, the goddess of spring, her mother Demeter, and all of the mothers, daughters, grandmothers, and sisters on the planet? Well, my friends, that depends upon you. Support equality for US women, equality for girls and women globally, and the Equal Rights Amendment now awaiting ratification in the US Senate. We need 10 votes. Rise up, speak up, show up, support and love women and girls. With love from Persephone.